And we are hosting this challenge with some partners. In particular, I want to welcome the Center for Social Impact and Philanthropy at Ashoka University in India, and I will hand over in a moment the word to Bindi to say hello, and also Inspire Matrices in Brazil. I am Mara Roldi. I'm the academic director of the Government Outcomes Lab at the Blavatnik School of Government in Oxford. And we are really excited to have all of you here. The Hack and Learn is a very dynamic event with that brings together who really want to use data to look at ways in which we can improve social outcomes. As I said, we have two co-hosts for this edition. And so I don't know, Bindi, do you want to say 2 words about Ashoka? And then I have Sandro representing Inspire Matrices to say 2 words. Bindi.
Thank you, Mara. Hi, I'm Bindi. I'm the Deputy Director at the Center for Social Impact and Philanthropy at Ashoka University in India. And we do some interesting work in the social impact and philanthropy space, looking at research and do a lot of convenings and capacity building programs. This is the 2nd year that we are partnering with Collabs and Indigo, and it's very exciting. We're running 2 challenges this time. And very keen to be a part of it and see what we end up doing with them. So excited to be a part of it. Back to you, Mara. Did I get my 30 seconds?
Yes. Sandro.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Sandro Cabral, and I'm a professor of strategy and public management. And besides trying to publish those papers that nobody reads except us academics in those journals, I'm also the program director for Master in Public Policy at the Inspire, and the co-director of the Inspire Matrices, which is a center that's focused on social impact and outcome-based contracts. And I'm very glad to be part of this network. And thank you, Mara, for organizing this. It's a pleasure to share this organization with Bindi as well. And really welcome you all for this nice event. 30 seconds, Mara.
Thank you, Sandro and Bindi. Fantastic. It's great to co-host this event with you. So let's keep going. The session today is focused on giving you a reminder and an overview for those of you who are new about the INDIGO initiative. And Ruri, a research associate here at the Go Lab, and Juliana, who is the data steward at the Go Lab, will present a little bit our story and why we are here. And I want to remind all of you that the meeting is recorded today because the Hack and Learn is global, and so there are people who are joining us from all over the world and might not be able to be here right now, but they will see a registration and a video of these conversations so they can hear from the voice of our challenge hosts what are the challenges that await us in the coming 2 weeks. So it is recorded. We want to keep it interactive. Please use the chat function as much as possible to post your questions. And I would suggest just say hello right now and tell us where are you coming from. And I'll move us along to our introduction. I will be quite ruthless because we have so many exciting challenges, and so we need to keep pace. We only have 1 hour, and so I'll open the session with an overview of INDIGO, and is over to you, Juliana and Ruri.
All right, thanks very much, Mara. Okay, so as Mara mentioned, this is INDIGO. This is the International Network for Data on Impact and Government Outcomes. We're a data collaborative. We care a lot about better data for better social outcomes. So we're a community of peers from different countries and policy domains with an interest in sharing data about projects that address complex social problems. This kind of started in part because we were in Oxford, like collecting data on a particular type of contracting mechanism and polishing the data and trying to understand the data ourselves. And we realized that other people were also looking at these data for different reasons. And we thought, well, it makes more sense to be collaborating with the different people who are looking at the same data in different ways. And it was more likely that people would share data with us and more likely that people would use data if we worked in a data collaborative rather than sort of gathering data and sort of polishing it in a room in Oxford. So that's what sort of drove this and drove us to sort of think more about who are the different users and how can we build something like a data collaborative around outcomes-based approaches. So we've got like 3 layers to what we're building here. The layers are community, system, and data. Fundamentally, community, this top layer is really important. That's what this is about. This hack and learn session is one of our community, sort of cornerstone community events. We also have peer learning sessions that many of you have been part of. The important thing about the community is that it's distributed, that it's international. It's got policymakers in it, as well as sort of folks that are focused on data mostly. So it's a good mix. We encourage you to welcome your colleagues into this community and help shape it. The next layer is system. So we, like I said, started off sort of collecting data and trying to polish it at Oxford. We decided that actually, let's build an open source database that allows us to collect this. We also then realized, okay, well then now we've got to build a process for receiving information from people. And now we need to be able to support the sharing and use of data. So the system really is not just an IT system, though that's there and available for use. The system is also the people, processes, and and data stewards and the community around sort of the sharing of information. And then finally, we've got data. So we started off with one data set. Our sort of core data set at the minute is our impact bond data set. Many of you will be familiar with that, but there are other data sets being added to the INDIGO collaborative, and that's an exciting thing. So if you you can download as open source data all the impact bond information. You can download all the, for example, impact wayfinder information. And as you're sort of playing with that and saying, well, there are holes in this, or there's a smart way I could join this with another data set, let's talk about it. Let's expand the number of data sets that are available through this collaborative. I'm going to pause there and hand over to my brilliant colleague, Juliana.
Great. Thanks, Rory. So I will tell you a bit more about key dates and sessions. So today, 23rd of August, we are having our kickoff session, and the Hack and Learn is officially starting today. From today until the 9th of September, you have 2 weeks to hack, and learn with your teammates. You can use your Slack channels to communicate with your teammates and divide the work, for example. And each group will have a challenge leader who will guide you through these weeks. We will introduce them later. On the 9th of September, we are going to get together and we're going to share the outputs of our work. This event is going to be part of our social outcomes conference, so more people will be listening to your presentations, and we will have a group of expert practitioners and researchers who will be giving feedback to your work. This does not end here. After the show and tell session, you are more than welcome to share a short story about your experience in the Hack and Learn. We will put all those short stories together and we will write a technical and learning report, which you can co-author with us. And we will share and present this new report in our next INDIGO peer learning session, which will happen on the 4th of November of 2021. You are all invited to contribute to that report. And my next slide has some useful tips for the participants. Based on my previous experience in other Hack and Learns, these are my top tips for you. So it is a good idea to choose one challenge as your primary challenge. Sometimes participants tend to be very interested in all the challenges because all of them are very exciting and they sign up for all of them. And at the end, this is too much work for them. It is not possible to keep up with the work of every challenge, and then participants end up disengaging from the work, and that's not the idea. So maybe it is a good idea to pick just one challenge, and then if you're curious and you want to see what is happening in the other chats, you can definitely be part of those chats, but let the challenge leaders know that you will not be working for those ones. Of course, your challenge leader is your main point of help, so you should feel free to ask him or her any other question that you may have. You will get only 10 minutes to show your results at the show and tell session, so this is not much time. We don't expect you to have a final solution for your problem, but just an idea of potential ways to address them. We just want to hear about what you did and your main findings. So a good use of time for your last days, maybe it is maybe you should be doing a nice summary of your findings in your last days of work. And finally, while you're working, write down some ideas and opinions to write this short story that I was telling you about. We will collate all of them in the technical and learning reports that we will present in November, and we really want you to be a part of it. So those are my tips, and we are going back to Mara.
Thank you, Juliana. Those are great tips. I'm really excited to chair the session today, because the challenges we have are really difficult to choose from. And I want to echo your tip, Juliana. Last year, I signed up probably to everything, and I did some hack and learn voyeurism. So good to have a way to let the challenge leaders know that you are a voyeur. But in fact, you are devoting your attention on other challenges, which is totally fine, but it's going to be a lot of fun in the coming 2 weeks. What's happening now is that we will go through the various challenges that we have received to date. There is also a chance at the end to add a challenge if on the spur of the moment you have an idea and you want to pitch it. Do pitch it to the community attending today or the one watching the video. The aim of those making a pitch is to recruit you to support the work over the next 2 weeks to tackle the challenge. So I'm giving them 3 to 5 minutes, and I will be super strict with time to allow some question and answer at the end, and to give to everybody a fair chance to present their challenge. So hopefully you can do it in 3, but at 5 minutes, I will just mute you. No, I'm joking. I will just step in and move on. The slides will be available. If you don't finish your pitch, people will have other chances to catch up with where you were. So I'll go straight away into our first challenge. Get your Q&A going in the chat. Think if you have another challenge, put in the chat, or at the end, I would like to have 3 minutes to propose another challenge. And our first challenge is presented by Mayra Gromani, and is a challenge that has been set up between the Go Lab and the Levoca Impact Lab. Mayra.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mara. Hi, everyone. It's great to have you here. I am very mindful of the time, so I'll go straight to our challenge. The first challenge we're going to tell you about, it's an impact bond pipeline. Our goal is to create a project pipeline for impact bonds that are being developed all around the world. So the challenge is how to create a tool that will help governments, organizations, and stakeholders, generally speaking, when they are developing a project. And why did we come up with that challenge? Because much of the learning takes place in the design phase, right? And usually there are more ideas for projects than actual projects launched. And we can take advantage of that to foster insights. And it will also be a tool for us to facilitate networking between communities with similar interests that may be working on similar projects and they don't even know about it. So it's a way of them getting in touch. It can reduce transaction costs, and we want to raise awareness on how the dynamic works under the soil before the project is born. Next one, thank you. So this challenge was already a challenge in the previous Hack and Learn, so we got started on this. What did we do already? We did some data mapping. We put together 2 lists of variables, and we saw what came out of that and how we could use that for our own data set. And we had a few learnings already. So we saw that we need 2 definitions, basically the definitions for a project to be included in the pipeline and for a project to come out of the pipeline. And we saw that some stakeholders might find this information sensitive, so we need to be mindful of that. And we have a list of variables, and we'll have a few that are a must-have for a project to go into the pipeline. And also, sorry, there's one left. There is a need to motivate the stakeholders to send us updates. So we'll also think about that. Now, the idea the idea for us to do now in this Hack and Learn is to move forward with this challenge. So we want to build the minimum requirements and the must-have variables for a project to be included and for a project to be taken out of the pipeline. We do have to do more work on data standardization, so we'll be working on that. And the main idea of the challenge is to work with actual data from projects that are being developed right now, and to prepare at the end of our 2 weeks a data visualization of an initial pipeline. So now we're actually going to build the pipeline. So if you're interested on this topic, please join me and let's do it. Thank you. 3.5 minutes.
Fantastic, Mahira. That's a great example. After the presentation at the end, Juliana will explain how you join the various Slack channels. So for the time being, just rank order the various challenges to decide which one you want to join. So great pitch. I'll hand over now to Juliana, who will present the challenge on sustainable development goals. Juliana.
Yes, perfect. So I want to recruit you for challenge number 13, which is a challenge about aligning sustainable development goals with social outcomes metrics. This is a repetition. This is a challenge that we already worked with in the past edition of our Hack and Learn. And as some of you may already know, the SDGs are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all of us. This list of SDGs was set up in 2015 by the UN, and they are intended to be achieved by 2030, and that's why they are so important. On the other side, we have an Impact Bond dataset, which has data about Impact Bond projects, and each project has a contract. In that contract, the outcome payer specifies a list of social outcomes that the project should achieve in order to get paid later. So for example, here in this slide, I have a set of outcome metrics that I extracted from our dataset. So some projects are aim to get entry into accommodation for homeless people. Some others want to improve attendance to classes. Other projects are more related with formal employment, for example. The idea here is to be able to draw a link between entry into accommodation and sustainment of tenancy for 12 months with SDG number 11. Improving attendance to classes should be linked to quality education, and entry into sustainable employment should be linked to SDG number 8. This is what we want to do. In terms of outputs, we want to keep working on our Sankey diagram. The Sankey diagram is a prototype that is already live in our website, but it's incomplete, so we want to keep working on it. And we also want to explore a new idea, which would be an SDG map. We want to be able to see where are the projects related with SDG number 4, and we want to see a pin in every country that has an Impact Bond project related to education, for example. How we want to do this? We are going to do a very simple exercise of data entry. I will prepare a spreadsheet and I will share it with the participants of my team, and we're going to divide the cases among participants. We will be linking social outcome metrics with the SDG number that fits that particular metric. And that's it. We want to build our Sankey diagram and our map to better understand how SDGs are related with Impact Bond projects. I hope that you like this idea and that you can join us later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliana. I'll move straight forward to our new challenge, and Fernando will present his speech. Fernando.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you all for joining us here today. So I am presenting the Pilot Projects and Scale-Ups Challenge from Hack Team number 14. And the idea here basically is to investigate the decision-making process of the practitioners who decide to run pilot projects at first, the ones on a smaller scale, exactly because they are testing whether such projects are sturdy enough to be later on scaled up. But next one, please. We don't know the hows and whens exactly. So the timing behind this is too complex dynamic process. So basically, how do you know when a project has the power to scale up and go bigger? This is the main question behind our challenge here. We have different ways of addressing it. So first, we need to use data. We need to learn from what works and what doesn't work. So basically here, we will engage in data usage regarding these several contracts to better understand the hows and whens regarding the scale up process. To afterward, provide guidance for the decision-making process. We know that SIBs, the social impact bonds, for instance, they are often criticized for being doomed to low-scale projects. So how can we boost a scale of these projects? What are the features that enable projects from escaping from being doomed to such a low-scale pattern? And the ways to go then. How are we going to do that? Here, we propose two main avenues, but of course that you would be open, and this challenge is flexible, so you can move forward in different ways. But first, we propose that we could compare the pilots to their scale-up versions. And second, we compare these scaled-up projects with the other unscaled contracts. Actually, the vast majority of projects that we have in the INDIGO impact bond data set is unscaled. Here we propose the INDIGO data, but of course that you could use other data sets and your own experience if you have working designing contracts. What to look for? For example, apart from the amount of investment and the difference in the length of the projects, some other features might impact the decision of scale up. The amount of service users, the delivery locations, investors involved. So for instance, how many are the investors, and are they the same, or the investors change as one project is scaled up? And several other features that might be crucial for the decision of scaling up. Here we have, as an example, still using the INDIGO data, we have only 4 projects with the pilot and the scale-up version. At the right side here, we have the West London zone. So we have the pilot and the scale-up at the bottom. As I mentioned before, we are aware that might be many other contracts with pilots and scale-up versions out there. So please we would be also glad if you could collaborate with more data here so we could investigate the features that enable contracts for being scaled up. And that's it, basically. Our pitch here relates then to scaling up projects. If you have any interest in these, if you work with designing contracts, if you research in this venue that, okay, how can I boost not only the scope of the project, but how can I make it bigger to reach more people? This is the challenge for you. We are looking forward to working together. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, we will be happy to reach you back.
Thank you, Fernando. So 3 challenges. I already can't decide which one to join: on the pipeline, on the SDGs, and on scaling up. We have now Gabriela coming up with the what next challenge. Gabriela.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mara. So in our challenge, we invite you to help us to explore the OBCs alphabet soup. So first, what are OBCs? OBCs are outcomes-based contracts, which are contracts that targeting social environmental results with conditional payments on achievement of outcomes. We have some well-known examples, such as social impact bonds and development impact bonds, but there are also the environmental impact bonds and sustainability-linked bonds, and maybe others. So, as you can see, we have a lot of names, initials, and acronyms, and there are new variations coming. Then, to understand all this variety, we invite you to join us in our challenge, which is how to differentiate OBCs to understand what's new, and how can we find and use available information to better understand all this variety. So what we are asking is something along the lines of what makes an OBC a DIB or a SIB. To do that, we suggest some ways to go,
But once you join us, this is totally open to your suggestions. Maybe we can start defining what are the features of each type of OBCs, looking if there are differences between the types of contracts, and identifying key features of each arrangement. Then we can search for news on OBCs, understand what's new and how the scenario evolved, and see if there are other features that can be used to identify contracts and so on. And once we collected all this data, we can learn from it by identifying some patterns. For example, before I didn't finish okay, thank you. So once we collected all the data, we can learn from it by identifying some patterns. For example, if there is any type of OBC that's more abundant than others. And finally, we can repeat the analysis and maybe construct some diagrams and return to what we have collected and see if it helps in understanding the variety of OBCs. A good example, next. Thank you. A good example of what is new and how complex it is to categorize OBCs, because the same thing is often named differently, is the sustainability-linked bonds that also can be called green bonds or ESG bonds. Natura, a Brazilian cosmetic company, just raised $1 billion in ESG bonds, and if they achieve their sustainability targets, they will step down in coupon payment to the investors, but if they don't, they will step up in coupon payment. So this is an example just to show how the scenario is evolving and how challenging it is to classify what is new. And there, next please. And there we have some suggestions of possible outputs. Maybe we can elaborate a decision diagram based on everything that we learned, or we can also construct a spreadsheet containing all the contracts that we found and classified in these 2 weeks. And maybe it would be nice to have some tables or plots just to help us to expose our findings. So guys, this is it. I hope I have motivated you to join us in this challenge, and we are looking forward to work with you. Thank you all.
Fantastic, Gabriela. I'm really impressed. We all keep under the 5 minutes. Good job. So we'll have more time for question and answer at the end. Thank you, Gabriela. We have next coming up, Shaivya from Ashoka University, who will pitch her challenge on corporate social responsibility in India, where they have a new exciting data set. Shaivya.
Thank you, Mara. So the next challenge is about the CSR data synchronization exercise, which is hosted by Center for Social Impact and Philanthropy, housed at Ashoka University. So basically, before I talk about the problem, the challenge in depth, I want to talk about the problem at hand here. So the center has collated CSR data from the years from starting from 2014 till the year 2019. Since there is no centralized CSR database to refer from for the information, to remedy this, we have collated information for various categories related to CSR. I will talk a little bit about what CSR stands for in India. CSR is basically corporate social responsibility, which requires companies to spend at least 2% of their average net profits of the last 3 years on CSR activities, which may include activities related to COVID-related activities, gender equality, education, health, etc., etc. So these include companies whose net worth is rupees 500 INR 500 crores or more, or have an annual turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or have a net profit of rupees 5 crore or more. However, the data that we have collated, it is lacking in some details, or there may have been some duplications in the data, or there have been some errors in the data. So this data set needs to be standardized and compacted for further use or analysis. Slide, please. So I'll talk a bit, I'll just give you a little bit description about the challenge at hand here. So as I've just described that CSIP has already collated the CSR database across India. And this database is from the year 2014 to 2019. And this has been spread across various Excel sheets for various years. And the participants here are basically encouraged to bring about the synchronicity among the data set based on the primary key CIN. CIN is basically a corporate identification number, which is a unique identification number given to each company in India by registrar of companies. And the participants are expected to collate all the information into one master database. The database that they will going to, the master database that the participants will going to collate will help us for further analysis and also may act as a base for building on further data sets related to CSR in India. Additionally, the participants are also expected to list the gaps and if they find any missing data points in the data sets and make suggestions on how to fill the gaps. Lastly, participants are also encouraged to perform some sort of preliminary analysis, or they can also do advanced statistical analysis, depends on the participants, over the synchronized data set and present their analysis in a short presentation. And this outcome can be in the form of a short report, basic descriptive tables or visualization, whatever the participants are comfortable with. Slide please, Juliana. Okay, so that's it. And I will share this Google Drive link with all the participants who will sign up for the challenge. And next slide please, Juliana. Yeah, this is the Slack channel where we will going to interact, or if participants will have any questions regarding the challenge here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaivia. Really exciting to see new databases coming on at the Indigo challenges. I'll pass now over to Neha from Ashoka University as well, a colleague of Shaivia, who will pitch her challenge on the impact of COVID-19 on non-for-profit organization. Neha.
Thank you, Mara. Hi, everyone. So I'll be leading the second challenge from Ashoka University. And in this particular challenge, we'll be revisiting data for sectoral analysis of the impact of COVID-19 on non-profit organizations in India. Next slide, please. Yeah, so basically during COVID-19, we realized and we found that non-profit organizations were at the forefront of India's response to COVID-19 and related issues. And to find out how NPOs themselves were doing, how they were impacted by COVID-19, our center conducted a study to understand, COVID-19's impact on multiple aspects of operations of nonprofits in India. And that includes, we try to find out impact on their regular programs, impact on their recovery, impact on their challenges that they face, impact on how they engage with funders, etc. So even though we have data for sectors in which sample organizations are working, because of the scope of our study, our analysis as of now is largely very generalized, and it talks generically about the impact on NPOs during COVID-19. So because we have this information about which organizations were working primarily on which sectors, we want this challenge to be about trying to explore what is the sector in which a particular NPO works plays in determining the impact that COVID-19 had for the NPOs. When I'm saying sector, when I'm saying sector, I mean it could be thematic areas in which organizations work. There was a list of 20 different sectors that we identified in which organizations were found to be working. So from that data which we have from that particular study, we want people interested in impact analysis take up this challenge and do a sectoral analysis depending on subsector analysis of the impact that COVID-19 had on the non-profit organizations. So when you do that kind of sectoral differential analysis, We expect you to also try and see if there are data gaps or inconsistencies, depending on if you find any, and do this analysis, which can be in the form of a report, in the form of a presentation or visualization, completely depending on your expertise or interest. So next slide, please. So this is where you can download the data set from. And in the next slide, we have the details for the channel through which we'll be communicating largely. And I hope you join us, and I hope that we are able to, work together.
Thank you, Neha. We have one challenge, like the challenge you heard so far have been proposed mainly by the co-hosts of the Hack and Learn, if you notice, from GoLab, from Inspire Matrices, from Ashoka University. But a few days ago, we've been contacted by a participant in the INDIGO network. This is a good example of a grassroots initiative, and Saba is pitching her the challenge on the use of social impact bond in the medical sector. Saba, over to you.
Hi guys. Basically my interest is around looking at social impact bonds as a way of addressing a particular public goods problem, or the lack of incentives to fund what's called off-patent drugs. So repurposing off-patent drugs. Next slide. So at the moment, the significant problem basically is that it takes around 10 years and around $2 billion to make a new medicine. But what's been explored more recently is the idea of repurposing existing medicines. The problem is that once those medicines go off patent, there's around 90% of the drugs that are prescribed off patent. There's no more incentives to turn those into new treatments. So as a result, they're basically not funded, and public or philanthropic funding is really available for large clinical trials. Next slide. So as we're saying, most of the therapies that doctors use are actually off patent or maybe non-profitable, and a very small section of them are on patent. So as soon as they go off patent, there's no more private incentives to do that repurposing. Next slide. So there's some examples of these kinds of off-patent drugs. For example, fluvoxamine, which is used to treat depression. It could prevent COVID-19, help reduce hospitalizations. There are sort of hundreds of these off-patent drugs that could be repurposed to treat other diseases. Next slide. So the idea is to use social impact bonds. It was proposed in 2016 by Find a Cure to repurpose off-patent drugs for rare disease. And what we'd like to do is basically explore this idea and the feasibility. So potentially look at, in order to build a scalable model, you need to be able to show that there's cost savings for repurposing off-patent drugs in a particular disease class, for instance, COVID-19 or cancer, whatever, and then being able to pay a percentage of those cost savings. The funder of healthcare costs pays a percentage of their healthcare costs into the social impact bond. And we're looking for people that can help validate this mechanism and also compare it to existing kind of health impact bonds, I guess, like the Utrecht impact bond, and maybe it links into those other challenges too. So that's everything, I think. Oh, we're also on the Slack.
Yes, thank you so much, Saba. I think there hasn't been Mayra, Juliana. I don't think there has been any last-minute challenge for now. But if you have, we bear in mind for the next Hack and Learn, or send them to us. I hand over to Juliana, who will talk us through on how do we sign up. We had a few questions in the chat on this is all exciting, but what does it mean? What happens? How do I contribute once I pick a challenge I like? And Juliana now will explain the ins and outs of the hack that is taking place in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, thank you, Mara. So I'm going to explain first how to join our Slack channel so you can pick this challenge or the group that you like the most. So Mayra will drop in the chat a link, and all you have to do is click on that link and open that new website. Once you are there, you will see something like that, and you can sign up using your email, and then you just click on continue with your email. Once you already have the Slack application, on the left side of your screen, you will see one more tab that says channels, like this one. And on the other side, you will see a small plus sign. If you click on that small plus sign, you will get the option of browsing channels. You just click on that and you will get the list of all the chats that you can join. As you can see here on the right side of the screen, you get a list of all the Slack channels, and you just join the ones that you're interested in. It should be fairly simple, but if you are finding any difficulty or you are struggling to do it, just send me or Mayra an email and we will help you to do it. But it should be, it's very intuitive, so you should be able to do it. These are the names of the challenges. So for example, the impact bond pipeline or nursery, you will find it that's Hack Team 12. You will see that every challenge has a number. We are using a consecutive, challenges are 12 and 13 because we are also respecting the numbers of our past challenges. And if you need any help with your data, your code, or you have any question regarding IT, you can use this channel, which is technical help. If you just want to meet other participants or maybe do some networking, you can use the networking lounge channel. These are all here for you to use them and enjoy them. I think we can start the questions and answer part. I'm going back to Mara, and I will stop sharing my screen so we can see each other.
Thank you, Julian. I just want to share a little bit about my experience in the previous Hack and Learn for those who are new and see how it works. So I joined the Slack channel. In the first year, I joined a couple and I was more active. In the second year, I joined them all, and I was only active on 2 anyway. So now this year, I'm going to join 2 actively. But what you do when you join this Slack channel, you will be part of a forum, of a conversation. And it's really the challenge leader will suggest a way to proceed, but then my experience has always been democratic, and you can contribute 10 minutes a day. You can contribute 2 weeks full time if that's what you want to do. But depending on your availability, you can put a little bit of your time or a lot of your time. So it's really up to you and what you can do. I can see I have Ruri who raised a hand. Anybody else who has a question, you can raise your hand in the or pose a question in the chat. I can't see all of you on the screen, so don't raise your physical hand. Ruri.
I just wanted to add a comment. This is all very exciting. One of the outputs of this is often a report where we sort of try and gather the learning and share perspectives and sort of how's it gone, what have we learned. And I think a helpful thing for this group is perhaps the report that was produced last time. It gives you a good sort of sense of like, how did it go last time? It gives perspectives from different people from last time, so you can get a sense of what happened. And you know, if you, as you're going through this process, if you could think, okay, well, that's something new. You know, I've just learned that, or next time let's do it a different way. You know, capture those insights because we'd like to co-write the report with you. So just a thought, and I think that Juliana has put in a link to the report in the chat.
Indeed, thank you, Ruri. So this is a report that we did last time. Is an example of the experience and how we learn from it. Mayra and Juliana, you've been monitoring the chat. Is there any question that we need to pick up?
I am looking at the chat now and I don't see a particular question. I see lots of comments and questions asking about the recording. And yes, we will share the recording after this meeting for you and for the participants who sign up and couldn't join today. So you will have the recording, you will have the presentation, and we will send another email with the link to the Slack channel too. So you will have all those 3 things together with you very soon. But yes, I'm just looking at questions about Slack channels and the link. I'm not seeing like a particular question, but please, if someone else has a particular question about a particular challenge, I think this is the moment to raise your hands, because you have all the challenge leaders and all the participants in the same place.
I think Tushar sent a question now in the chat. And yes, I believe you can ask challenge specific doubts. So he wanted to know what is a Sankey diagram in challenge 13.
It's for you, Juliana.
Yes, perfect. Yes, so we have a Sankey diagram, which is a prototype, and it's live in our website. If you give me 1 minute, I think I can share the link with you. But I said that it is incomplete because we don't have data for all the Impact Bond projects in our data set. And that's why we're running this challenge again, because we want to have data linking social outcomes and SDGs for all our Impact Bonds. But I will share a link with you and you will see what the Sankey diagram is about, which is very simple. We are just trying to build a link between different social outcome metrics and particular SDGs. But I will share this with you right now.
There are 2 more questions now.
Yeah, tell me.
The first one, are there any skill requirements per project that we need to satisfy?
I will say that no, everybody is welcome here to work, and we realize that there is a difference in the skill sets. Some of you may be more like coders or data scientists, or maybe some of you are studying to become a data scientist, and some of you may be more like policymakers, or some of you may be studying political science or public policies. All of you are welcome to come. We know that there are different skill sets, and that's okay. We have technical support. So if we want to do a very complex data visualization, or we want to do something, but we don't have the skills, we will have the support of other developers who will be working with us. So there is no skill requirement. Of course, sometimes we assume that you know how to use Excel or some basic spreadsheets, but if you don't, we are more than willing to teach. So I really think that there is no prerequisite for this, for working with us. Everybody is welcome to come and enjoy the experience.
Thank you, Juliana. And there was a question that was answered by Laura in the chat about, can we join more than one challenge? And the answer is absolutely yes. Be mindful that you will be sucked into it. And if you have a day job, that's very risky. No, I'm joking. It would be helpful if you think that you are taking a very active role compared to just checking it out because you're curious. If you let know the challenge leader, so he might not assign you to groups if you organize teamwork in groups. So you can be a silent participant, but it's important that the challenge leader knows so that they can organize activity accordingly.
Yes, as Mara was saying, I would say that it all depends on your time availability. Maybe you do have a lot of time in the next weeks and you want to participate in 2 or 3 challenges, and that is great. When you join all the challenges in the list, that is a bit more risky, because then you have a lot of things to do and you commit to do a lot of things, and maybe you don't have enough time to comply with all of them. But it is completely up to you. You can do it. And if you just want to be part of the chat because you're curious and you just want to see what is happening there, that's completely fine. You just have to let the challenge leader of that group know. So they know that they shouldn't count on you to work on the challenge. You are just observing what is happening. And that's completely fine too.
Thank you. There is a question by Manav saying, if you join the challenge, how many times you meet? How long those meetings will going to be? It varies, in my experience, depending on the type of group. In the group I joined last time, sometimes there were Zoom calls for like half an hour. In other challenge. There was nothing synchronously. It was just discussed on the channel, and your availability will be asked for. And as I said, there are people who join every single meeting and they're very active in the chat, and they comment on everything, and others that come in when they can, and every contribution is very valuable. So there is no minimum contribution, and there is no maximum contribution either.
Yeah, again, as Mara was saying, it varies a lot and it depends a lot on the team that you get. Sometimes you get people from the same country or maybe from the same time zone, and that is easier. You can get you can set meetings in the same time zone, and it's convenient for everybody. When you get someone from Brazil and someone else from the United States and someone else from India, then it gets a bit more difficult to agree on a specific time. But it varies a lot, and we are providing you with the Slack channel so you can do things asynchronously and you don't need to meet, but maybe if you want to meet, that's great again. And I think we have one more question here. It says, is there scope for long-term collaboration with the project after the 2 weeks timeline? Again, it depends on how much you want to work and collaborate. After the Hack and Learn, we leave our Slack channel open. So if you feel like you want to keep working with this and you're interested in the channel and you feel that you have time and want to contribute, that's great. We will be there and we will try to keep working on these things. But again, it's completely up to you and completely up to the team that you get. And again, it varies a lot, but you will have the Slack channels and you can keep working if you wish to.
Yes, and there is also this question from Deepika about the challenge leaders. Yes, they are the people who pitched the challenge to you, and you will be able to contact them directly when you join a Slack channel.
Yeah, absolutely. We are the challenge leaders, and you will realize who is your challenge leader whenever you join your Slack chat. You will see who is leading the conversation and who is setting the meetings and doing the administrative work. Well, that's your challenge leader. And you should feel free to ask him or her any other question that you think you may have. Okay.
I think we answered the question. The good idea is, I think if there are no further questions, the next time we will be all together and more will be at the conference. As Juliana said, the conference will host the show and tell, where we will all the challenge participants can come together and share what they've been doing in these 2 weeks, what they learn, and what are the next steps. And usually there are very interesting data visualization. This Hack and Learn will have the show and tell during our annual conference. So it will be a spotlight at the conference. We do expect over 1,000 participants. It will be online, and there will be some people meeting in Oxford. So there will be a great audience to comment and hear about the work that we've been doing. Make sure you sign up for the conference so that you can attend to this and you see the rest of the program. So I want to ask Bindi and Sandro if they want to make a final comment. Sandro?
Just to, no comment, just to thank you, Mara, for putting this up, and thank you for everybody that joined this. It's amazing with the quality of the presenters here. And well, more than glad to be part of this network. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you for joining and supporting. Bindi, you have a final word?
I just want to echo what Sandro said. I think it looks very exciting, some really interesting challenges. So I think good luck to the teams and good luck to all the people running these challenges. So sounds very, we're excited about what's going to happen. So
yeah, and so are we. So I'm handing you the 2 minutes to make your cup of tea, glass of water or coffee, depending on your preferences. And let me just say, let the hacking begin.
Great. Thank you, Mara. We will see each other on the Slack channel. So we will be waiting for you there.